Hailing from AfterBuzz TV, it's
Ringside Pop, you know it don't stop. With flicks to the business of everything that's hot. Call it Ringside Pop, you know it don't stop. With the flicks to the business of everything that's hot. Welcome to Ringside Pop with Keven Stephens, Marty Elias, and Dale Rutledge.
Welcome to another rip-roaring episode of Ringside Pop. Boy, do we have a good one for you today. It is Lucha Underground all day long. Lucha Underground is one of the most creative wrestling products on TV today. 3 seasons, over 100 episodes, and they are about to begin their 4-night extravaganza of Ultima Lucha 3. So who else could we have in-house? Of course, Marty Elias, as always, representing Lucha Underground.
Always.
The referee of all referees.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate
Take it.
that.
Marty Elias, how's it going?
It's going great.
Good to have you so close.
I know. You know, I think this is the first time you and I have been this close.
Yeah, it wasn't my contract for you to be further, but we've gone ahead and gotten rid of that clause. But thanks for being here.
Hey, thank you.
It's always nice to have you, and we have a couple of special guests today on the other side of the table. Nokia Stephens today. She's out glowing it up.
Glowing it up.
As only she can. But for some extra underground oomph, we have a very special guest, executive producer Eric Van Wagenen. How's it going?
Great. Thank you for having me. It's good to be in the new and improved AfterBuzz Studios.
Yeah, we shined it up real nice for you.
Love it.
Yeah, you like that?
It's beautiful.
It's been a while since I've seen you, I think.
Yeah, well, I was saying it's been a while since I've seen everybody.
Yeah, this is the first time you and I have seen each other.
I
in
haven't
a
seen
year,
Marty
I think.
in a year. He's grown a beard. He's gotten taller, more handsome, if that's
Thank
possible.
You, I appreciate that.
But yeah, no. So I've sort of been out of the loop for the last year. It's been kind of wild. In fact, we were sitting here talking about the shows, and you know, we shot these shows that are airing now over a year ago. June of 2016 was when the one that we just watched aired. So like when I watch them now, it's like it's new to me.
I know. I was trying to think of. I was there for the taping of the Ultimate Lucha, and I can't remember some of the finishes. I was like, I remember the spots.
I can't either. and then you know we also edited them. So like you know I think we finished editing these 6 months ago. So it's really been a long time.
Oh my
for
gosh,
me. So
that's crazy. Well, it's good to have you here, and I can't wait
Great to be
to
here.
talk about the show.
Me too.
Speaking of talking about the show, AfterBuzz's own Lucha Underground after show host, Ty Matthews. How's it going?
Thank you. It's very good to be here, Dale. I feel
Glad
like
to
I
have
haven't seen you in forever either.
Yeah, I don't live here anymore.
That's right. That's right. I forgot. That's why I started here is because you moved. But yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about the first season, but once second season came around, we knew we had to get a show on the air about Lucha Underground, and so we've been having a blast talk about it ever since.
Yeah, it's a great show. I love watching you guys, and it's a good crew on there too.
It's so much fun. We get a little bit loopy because we tape at 10 o'clock at night, and so
Holy smokes.
yeah.
I'm in bed.
But I mean, you should be. Everyone should be.
Wow.
But it makes for an unpredictable atmosphere.
Yeah, I bet. So, okay, well, let's just get right into it. So we got Ultima Lucha 3 coming right around the corner.
See.
4 nights. How did you guys decide to? Did you know that when you were filming that you were going to break it up?
You know, Chris always, DeJoseph is always, he's always pushing for more and more and more and more. And at some point it was like, hey, Chris, you know, Ultima Lucha is like 10% of our season now. Like, maybe it's time we hold the brakes on it here a little bit. But he did, you know, in fairness, he wants to give the stories a fair opportunity to resolve and to do it in things that aren't just 3-minute matches, you know. So like, you know, the matches that are coming up in Ultima Lucha, and just for your clarification, it's the last night of Ultima Lucha is a 2-hour finale too. So it's like 5 full hours.
5 hours of Lucha.
Of Lucha
Ultima
Underground.
Lucha.
And, but what you get is you're going to get a lot longer matches. They're going to play out a lot more. They're a lot more fun. The vignettes are even crazier. Wild stuff's going to happen. So we definitely saved the best for last. And you're going to start seeing it this next week. Crazy, crazy stuff.
Does that mean you're going to be in an ambulance again? You say the best for last.
I'm trying to think of it.
feel
No,
like-
no, I was in the back of a paddy wagon.
Oh, it was a paddy wagon. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
They seem the same to me.
I know, definitely. But no, I do not make a cameo in this year's Final Vignette.
It's a real shame.
I know, sad, right?
But you know what's so funny about that? You know, being that he did have that cameo and stuff, he's very well known now with all the Lucha believers as Evie Dunn. Dub.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's my alter ego.
Yes, it is.
You know, my children chant that for me in the morning when they wake up. So
When they want breakfast.
yes, exactly.
EV Dub. EV Dub.
How many people mispronounce your last name in the first place?
It's pretty much happened my entire life. So that, and I have two brothers close in age, so I'll answer pretty much anything.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's Van Wagenen. It's just like when you see it and you say it, it's exactly like it's spelled, but it's a long Dutch name. So, what are you gonna do? It's the one I'm stuck with.
I like EV Dub, so there.
Yeah, much
EV Dub is
rolls
pretty
off
great.
the tongue a lot
Revenue.
easier,
Little
for
softer.
sure.
So, I mean, we have so many matches for Ultimate Lucha Trace. I mean, there's Puma versus Mundo, Career versus Title, Phoenix versus Marty the Moth, Hair versus Mask, Taya, Sexy Star, Last Luchadora Standing,
Oh, that's a good one.
Dante Fox, Kill Shot, Hella War.
Coming up this week, do not miss that one.
Literally, do not miss it. If you watch nothing else, you need to watch that
I
craziness.
don't ever want to say somebody stole the show, but they might have stolen the show, and that's this week. That's coming up, part 1. I mean, they set the bar so high, everybody in the back was like, oh shit, we got to bring it now. It really was.
That was intense and it was crazy, and you just go like, how do you follow that?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to. I mean, thank God there's a week between.
Yeah.
Yeah, a
one
little
and-
breather.
Yeah, 'cause
They
you
stole
wouldn't
the show.
want
They also stole a couple of years off my life watching that match. I feel it's like, yeah.
I don't say it about very many shows or very many matches. I save my hyperbole for very specific ones, and this is one you absolutely do not want to miss.
100% agree with that. Dragon Azteca versus the Monster Matanza in a steel cage.
Awesome again. Yep.
Ivelisse and Katrina. Is that Ivelise's? I'm sorry. Is that Katrina's first?
Yeah, I think technically it's her first
Like official?
official match, and Evie I think was underrepresented in season 3 because she had that second foot break. So it's just good to get her back in the sparkly pants and doing her thing in Lucha Underground. It's always fun to have her on the show.
Is
love
she doing
Evie.
okay right now? Do we
I
know?
think so. Yeah. I mean, I know she's. I haven't. Like I said, I haven't seen anybody in over a year. I know that she's been very concerned with. She has family in Puerto Rico right now, so I know that she hasn't been able to contact them. So prayers out to Evie's family and donate money to the American Red Cross in Evie's behalf.
I mean, what a crazy year for all
absolutely.
of that. Son of Havoc versus Pentagon Dark in a ladder match, and then Cage and Memortes and Crane for the Gauntlet.
Also, another one that's just off the rails crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And that
as
one,
you would only imagine.
Yeah, I mean, and that one I think is maybe the next.
That's
have
I
they said
think
the
next.
order?
I think that's in week 2, I believe.
Week 2,
I
okay.
like I said, sorry, I can look it up, but I'm pretty sure that's in the second week. But it's great. I mean, it's hard to start saying, oh, which ones are must-see matches. Just watch all of Ultima Lucha. You may not get it again for a while, so let's watch this one.
Yeah. So speaking of which, what are we talking about here? Let's talk Netflix first. I feel like that a lot of people got a great chance to catch up with Lucha.
Yes.
You guys were pretty smart. Yeah, you guys filmed a year ago, but I think that break of airing was a great idea for the Netflix.
We were hoping for that, actually. We were really hoping that people would use that sort of window of time as an opportunity to catch up and get current. Initially, people think, well, when you stream your show, that cuts into your live viewing audience, but I don't think that really is true. I think in a lot of ways it actually helps build it up because it broadens your fan base, and once you're current and once you're caught up, you want to be able to tweet about it and watch it, and you don't want to avoid spoilers, and you want to be able to see it in real time. And wrestling is one of those sports that is best watched, communally,
for sure.
when you can comment in real time as things are happening. And so I think that's the positive about taking that break and getting everybody a chance to catch up. So yeah, the first 2 seasons are on Netflix. We are anticipating the 3rd season will be on after it's not official, but it looks very positive. Netflix guards the numbers and they don't really share.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Because it's not really in their negotiating best interest.
They don't have to. They don't want to.
That is popular, but I can tell you that merchandise and sales of the Amazon sales are all up as a result of Netflix. So
interesting.
that's definitely good. So we see the spike in T-shirts and things like that.
I guess
so
that makes
somebody's
sense.
watching.
Yeah,
so that's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congrats on that. I know it was something, like you said, a long time in the works.
Yeah,
so.
that was like delivering a baby, getting a Netflix deal. It was.
Yeah, that did take a long time.
It was like delivering an elephant baby. I think the gestation period of an elephant is like 20 months, right, Todd?
That's about right.
Okay, good.
I will have to
Someone
look that
Google
up.
that.
Yeah. That's on the finale, I believe. It's the elephant
Yes,
version.
for sure.
Yeah, I'm curious to see too, like what happens with season 4. I mean, I know you guys haven't said
Yeah.
too terribly much quite yet.
Boy, that's the $1,000,000 question, isn't it?
Really
You know
is.
What's going on? There's
We're
sure a
getting-
lot of stuff floating around out there. People seem to know more than I do, I think.
Do they?
I don't know. I'm starting to wonder.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're all anticipating it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this is because of that break. You've given people a long time to ponder.
Yeah, and you know, look, this show has some sort of things that are unique about it that make it a little different than most wrestling shows. Most wrestling shows, the investors will buy the time on a channel, or they will give the show for free, and they will, you know, deficit produce the shows, and then make up for that deficit in ticket sales, live events, touring, merchandise, things like that. That's how they get that's how the investors get their money back. Our investors came in with an initial investment to get the IP developed, to create the characters, to buy the costumes. You know, a lot of that was done before MGM ever got involved.
Oh, okay.
So once, you know, the Lucha Underground kind of intellectual property was established, that's when they found MGM. MGM doesn't do deficit financing shows. You know, we basically say, you know, if you look at every show on MGM television, from Survivor to Apprentice to Shark Tank to The Voice, they get a license fee, you know, from the network. The network pays a license fee. We do the show for exactly that license fee. You know, usually less, because if you do it for less, then you can kick money back to your investors.
Right.
So that's how the show is paid for. It's paid for by El Rey. So there's a limited, you know, there's a window of time when El Rey can pick up season 4.
And to clarify for people listening,
Yeah.
MGM owns El Rey?
No,
or
no,
they just
no.
have a partner agreement for this show,
El
correct?
Rey pays MGM to produce Lucha Underground. Now,
I
there's
see.
also an LLC, which owns the IP, that controls the touring, that gets the money for the merchandise, and gets a certain amount for the
Okay.
international sales.
Or like when you go to South by and all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
so the LLC hired MGM. Okay, I know it's very confusing.
Yeah.
The LLC hired MGM to produce the show. El Rey Network pays the LLC for the show. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then the money just sort of trickles down to
I see, okay.
from LLC to MGM, and then I get a budget, an operating budget to work with, you know, minus whatever fees are taken out, and that's what we produce the show for. And it's a lot less than most people think.
Okay.
You know, one of the ways that we can do it cheaper is by doing more episodes. You know, so right now we're in the process of trying to come up with a budget number that works for El Rey, that works for the LLC, and that works for MGM. And you know, we have a window of time where El Rey can come up with that money. You know, obviously, as we're getting towards the end of 2017, you know, they're again spread it maybe over 2017, 2018. There's ways to do it, but you know, there's the negotiation that happens between the network and Lucha Underground LLC and MGM. So we all need to just sort of get on the same page, and those conversations are happening. I mean, I wouldn't be here today giving up my, you know, Sunday afternoon if I thought Lucha Underground was dead. I don't think it's dead. You know, if I was a betting person, I would bet we're coming back. But you know, look, TV breaks your heart. You know,
Right.
anyone who's worked in it knows that, you know, sometimes the best shows are the ones that don't survive.
Right.
And then you have some shows that seem to be bulletproof, and you know, you hate them. But that's just the nature of television. And you know, this one is one that people feel very passionate about, and the audience feels very passionate about. And I think that everybody understands that, from Mark Burnett to Gary Barber and MGM. To Daniel Tibbetts and Robert Rodriguez. They all understand that this is a very passionate fan base, and you can't really, you know, it's hard to quantify that. It's hard to put a value on that. When you're trending on Twitter, you know, even though your audience is, you know, small compared to other television shows and other TV networks, the fact that people are so passionate about it, I think everybody understands that. And that's not something that in today's TV business you just walk away from.
Right.
You know, it's valuable.
I mean, it does, so El Rey, do you think that they see the true value of?
Oh, absolutely.
Lucha Underground?
I mean, we're consistently their highest rated show. You know, they've been a great partner in that they put a lot of resources behind the marketing of the show. They're clever about it, you know, where they put their ads and where they, you know, put their promotion. And I know they're committed. Daniel loves the show. You know, Dan, the president of El Rey Network, and Robert Rodriguez, I know they love the show. They're present. They're a part of it.
Great.
Skip Chasen, he's an employee of the El Rey Network, yet he directs all of our vignettes. So, you know, it's a very connected network. You know, and I really don't think that there's any scenario where they completely walk away from it. I just don't.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, they got rid of from Dusk Till Dawn,
Yep.
which I felt like was their other kind of anchor on that channel. Are they doing okay?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, now this is all speculation.
Sure,
You
yeah.
know, and of course I can speculate, but it may not be the most responsible thing for me to do to speculate. But I can tell you that what we get as a license fee in the pantheon of television license fees, this is on the low side.
Okay.
Dusk to Dawn was not. You know,
I see.
This is for you know. I look at the shows that I have done and the shows that are at the MGM family right now. This is probably the smallest license fee of any MGM show that we have. It's certainly the smallest license fee of any 1 hour show I've ever produced.
Oh, okay.
So you know, granted, it starts to add up when you can do 40 episodes, but if you look at it just from a, you know, take it out of the wrestling comparison and you just look at it, you know, it's probably, yeah, maybe it's expensive for a wrestling show, but if you look at it as a television show, it's not. We've been able to, you know, find ways to shoot so many of these at a certain amount of time. I mean, last season we were shooting 5 episodes on a weekend. You know,
Right.
So you know, there are ways to do it cheaper if you're smart.
It's certainly a large season order as well. I mean, most seasons of hour-long shows
Yeah.
are about 24 or 20.
Well, you get 26, but even that's pretty rare nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that was probably more the model 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
Nowadays, you know, you'll get 10 episode orders of series. You'll get 12, you know, and it's not like, you know, TV is changing so much. You know, content is always king, as I like to say, but the delivery systems are changing. And, you know, the traditional television season really no longer exists, you know, with Netflix and streaming and all these other things.
Yeah.
You know, people, there's no, like, you know, when we were kids and growing up, you know, it was like that 2-week window in September where all the shows started.
Right, yeah.
Everybody watched them at the same time, and we all talked about it at school. And that's long gone. You know, you don't really have that. I mean, you kind of do, but you really don't.
I mean, even Game of Thrones was like 6 episodes. This
Yeah, and
season,
then they'll
you know?
go off for a year.
Right.
You know, or Curb Your Enthusiasm. It starts again tonight or
Yeah, it's real soon.
And it's been off the air for what, a year and a half, 2 years?
I thought it was longer than that.
It might have even been
It
longer
felt
than
like
that.
it. It felt like it, yeah.
And so people are understanding that, you know, the traditional TV model doesn't really apply. It's just that when you're a wrestling show, everyone has a certain expectation that a wrestling show is weekly. And, you know, it's live and it's this and there's touring to support it and, you know, whatever. We don't fall yet. We don't fall into that mold. And so I think that's why, you know, you know, it's confusing to people. I get it. I'm not sitting here trying to defend that the way we've done it has been perfect because, look, no one would rather have it on 50 weeks a year than me. Then I wouldn't have to waste my time doing other stuff. But you know, it's just it's just not the way it is right now. So we're working on it.
Okay, that's a roundabout answer.
I hope that was was that a bullshit
Eric,
answer?
while I have you here, and this is something, you know, that from day one up until now, one of the things, you know, that I see, and I've seen it, of course, you know, you hear things and you see dirt sheets and you all the rumors and things like that. Could you do me a favor, and I'll ask you this, and squash this rumor that has been that we have taped Lucha Underground and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars every episode, because a lot of people have that impression that we have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars during our tapings, and I think it's so silly because you and I both know that that's not the case.
Yeah,
but
and that's kind of what I was trying to, you know, explain. You know, the model where you know, we don't go over budget. You know, we're given a license fee that we stay well within, and everybody gets paid.
That's your job, right?
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah, and the producers get paid, and the partners get paid, and El Rey gets every week a 45-minute, hour of episodic television. Now, it's El Rey's job to find a way to monetize that 1 hour.
Right, their job is to sell the ads.
Yeah.
and
Now,
you
if El Rey, the network, is losing money, that has nothing to do with what I do. My job is to produce the best hour of television that will hopefully draw in the biggest audience for El Rey. Now, of course, we wish we had a bigger audience. We wish we had a 10 times the bigger audience. And El Rey is a startup network in a TV climate that's hard to start up a network. You know, and they're trying to, you know, new things, and they've added to their original programming in the last year, and they're trying to, you know, create buzz around their network, and if we can help them do that. But ultimately, it's up to El Rey to determine if the cost of of paying for Lucha Underground is worth it in the monetization of Lucha Underground through whatever methods they can do that in. But you know, networks when they start always lose money.
Of course, yeah.
It's just nature.
Any business you start, really, those first couple years.
You have to be prepared to deficit for a while.
Yeah.
But that's not my job. My job is to just, you know, produce an hour of television every week. And I can tell you, we've never gone over budget. We've never gone over budget on what we're given as a license fee. So, you know, to say that we're bleeding, hemorrhaging millions of dollars, I don't think you can really define it that way. But I get it. People need clicks.
Yeah, exactly. They grab the thing that makes people look.
Yeah, it's fine.
So there you go. We haven't been bleeding, nor have we been bleeding.
Fans in the chat roll are asking about UK distribution. Is there a plan moving forward for that?
You know, I know that there is. You know, it's weird because that's handled by MGM International, and you know, when the show started, we were part of United Artists. Like, you know, the Mark Burnett production family is sort of, the company itself has sort of changed parent companies a couple times just in the last 3 years.
Oh, okay. Didn't realize that.
So MGM International has a team that has been looking to sell it all over. You know, part of it is we need a buyer that wants it. You know, we need somebody in the UK to give us an offer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like we're holding out to protect that territory for any reason. And I know that I know because I've been helping them develop materials. There's some international sales conventions coming up, and I know that Lucha Underground is part of the priority of MGM International. But as far as the day-to-day, will we get it in the UK? God, I hope so, because it sure seems like we have a ton of fans from the UK who watch this, and it makes me sad that they can't see it, you know, on the more traditional ways to do it, because I know Lucha is really hot in London right now, in England, all over. So, you know, fingers crossed that they get it soon, because I know they're great fans.
Ty, what have been some burning questions on the after show that you guys, maybe that Eric could answer?
I mean, a lot of it was stuff that kind of you already touched on. You know, the big question was just the future of the show. You know, because like we were talking about, it was a long time ago that a lot of these were taped, and so. And
you said season 4 was when?
Well,
when, Eric?
Nothing would make me happier than to be able to answer that question. Trust me, I want season 4 to go. But I'm sitting by my phone.
Yeah, if there were any burning questions, it would just be purely speculative. It would be who are some of the people that are on Lucha Underground's radar to bring in for a season 4. Mm-hmm. That would probably be the thing that us hosts and our listeners are most curious about, because it's been kind of such a melting pot these 3 seasons alone. You know, bringing in people from all around the world, creating matches. I mean, just last season, we saw Pentagon versus Kairi Hojo, Kairi Sane,
right?
Which is something that nobody ever thought would ever happen, and
certainly
so
not.
That's been kind of the biggest question mark, is just who would be next.
That was Marty. If I'm not mistaken, you probably are the one to thank for that. That gauntlet match, because you were the one that I don't know.
Pushed.
Yeah, you pushed to get DJ down on the first night, yes. And then you pushed me to come down on the second. Well, and then DJ called me. He's like, "Get whatever you're doing, stop and go see these women down in where was that, Huntington Park or something like that, Hawaiian Gardens or something."
Yeah. So I was hot and heavy because I'm a big fan of theirs, and the Japanese, especially, you know, EO and. I said, dude, we got to come check these out.
So they just came to town for a show?
Yeah, because Stardom Japan came and they did something with Jesse Hernandez.
Over in Covina.
In Covina.
That's pretty rare, right? I mean, they don't come out very often.
Yeah, so they came out, and I was like, I remember at the time, DJ was like, we need girls, we need talent.
Yeah, because we only had 2, I think, at that point.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, and then he had the storyline with Black Lotus, and it was like, okay, you know, we need to take this somewhere else, and then it was like, oh, I had an aha moment, and that's when DJ, we got to go do this, and then that's when we.
And as soon as you saw him, and we also saw Thunder Rosa was down there.
Yes,
and there was like 3 or 4
there too.
3 or 4 women there. I remember just handing my card out to like 4 or 5 women that, you know, put on a great show, and you know,
like
there was a couple that got away.
We started introducing, and by the way, this is Eric, this is that, and oh, okay, and then you know.
And then we met the manager, and it just so happens that they were coming back through town on a weekend when we were shooting, and so they were doing, I think, Cauliflower Alley in Vegas on like Tuesday or something like that. So we said, fly in on Friday, and we will put you, keep it super quiet. Don't tell anybody.
Kayfabe it
Don't
big
don't
time.
don't let anybody know. And we will come in and we'll use you on Friday and we'll use you on Saturday. And we used them, I think, both days. And they came in and made an appearance. It was the Aztec Warfare, I believe.
Yeah, they came in, they
Yeah.
did the run-in.
And then we did the gauntlet match, and nobody really knew, although they did. It was funny because we our hotel is across the street from Bodega Louis, that little sort of French pastry
Oh
place,
yeah, I love that spot.
which is like ground zero for Asian tourists to come in and take pictures of like the cookies
I
and
can see
stuff.
that. They're very cute and picturesque.
Yeah, all those things. And so of course, I'm like, don't tell anyone you're in LA. Don't tell. So of course they wander across the street and they post on their Instagram all these pictures of these cookies, and immediately fans are like, "You're here for Lucha Underground," and they figured it out.
The cookie that spoiled
Yes,
it all.
the cookie
Spoiled
that
it all.
spoiled our big surprise.
But these girls knocked it out of the park, man. And working with them and seeing what they were capable of doing, I'm really proud and honored, that I was a part of that, and to bring them into Lucha Underground, and it was such an amazing experience for me personally.
Yeah, it was. That was a great day. I mean, I know there are people that didn't like it, but and look, that's fine. It's not for everybody. But I thought that those three looked so strong and so good, and I
Absolutely.
don't think it made Pentagon look weak, and the crowd was sure into it. And there's very few matches that I like to go back that night and watch the line feed on, and that was definitely one of them. So I love that.
And that was a point that I was gonna try to touch on, is not to get too inside baseball, but there's a lot of split feelings on men selling for women and trying to make them look strong. And obviously, as we've seen at this point in the season, it did nothing to hurt Pentagon's progress, but him making them seem like legitimate, credible threats did wonders for that match and for that angle.
Keep watching.
Yeah, no, Pentagon was great. I mean, I don't think who was it? It was EO did the final. It was the what was the move? The Mexican Destroyer, or whatever it was.
Yeah, Canadian
She'd
Destroyer.
never Canadian Destroyer. She'd never done that before, and they sat out there and worked on that, and worked on it, and worked on it backstage. And there were. She was speaking Spanish to
She
him,
was
right?
speaking Spanish.
Yeah, she
It
spoke
was funny
Spanish.
because all three of us for the finish were discussing it, and there were some things that needed to be translated from English, because she knew English pretty good, and we were translating it to Pentagon, and we walked through that finish, and she had never done it, and they walked through it maybe 3 times, and what you see on TV was magic.
She nailed it. Yeah, and he was
Magic.
very gracious about it. And he, good guy. I really like Pentagon. He's just a solid guy and a good guy to have around.
So much fun to watch too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
So kind of back to Ty's question though, I know that you were obviously heavily involved in picking a lot of the guys when you were first casting for season 1. A lot of the Tough Enough players came, I'm sure, at your suggestion.
Dale, and part of it was, man, we gotta get somebody.
Like, I know these people.
No, but and I actually though I knew that Evie could work, was a great worker, and the fact that it was lucha style, I knew I think she might have been the first one, and then Marty I knew because he's Marty Casals from Utah, who I love, and I would still hang out with, and when I would go to Utah, we were actually stayed friends after Tough Enough.
Oh, cool.
And he's half Mexican, even though I think the most Mexican. He can only order at Taco Bell is probably as Mexican as Marty is. Even though he's legitimately. I met his father. His father is Mexican.
That's funny.
I said, Marty, we'll come create this crazy character, and we played with like 5 different things with Marty, but he's so funny and he commits so fully to it.
Oh my God, yeah.
I didn't think the Marty the Moth thing was going to work. That was all DJ and Roach, and I was like, I'll believe this when I see it. And then he fully committed to it, and he's been such a big part of this.
But remember
last
the first
season.
weekend? The first weekend?
Magnificent Martin with Brenda.
Yes, and remember what happened?
Oh yeah, he knocked himself out. He's always getting hurt.
In a dark match.
Oh geez.
Yeah, I always say a prayer for Marty. I always say whenever he goes out there, because my thoughts and prayers are with Martin Casals, because he was always, he got hurt on Tough Enough, and he was always doing crazy stuff on that show.
I think he would have wanted.
I helped carry him into the van to take him off to the hospital when he broke his foot on Tough Enough.
Heartbroken on that episode.
Yeah,
really.
I thought he was going to win it. He was a
100%.
sleeper. He wasn't even supposed to be on the cast. I liked him because he was from Utah, and all my dad and all my cousins and aunts and my sister all live in Utah, and I thought, it would be great to have a Utah kid on the show. And his little head sheet was in the in the maybes, like, and when the network wasn't looking, I went over and slipped him into the yeses, and that's literally how he got on to Tough Enough.
Marty, you hear that, man? You have Eric to thank for your career, bro.
They had seen so many wrestlers at that point. They kind of didn't. They didn't
remember.
And then they brought him out for casting. And once you get him in, you get him talking. He's fun and
he's pretty charming.
And he gets himself. I mean, I don't want to take credit because he every break Marty got, he got on his own.
But you know what's funny too? He's the reason why that we extended all the padding out too in Lucha Underground. If you guys go to the temple and you see all the padding and the double padding, it's all because of Marty.
Because we almost killed Marty on the first taping. He spent the night in the hospital.
Yes,
I think.
he did.
Yeah.
And he is,
Concussion.
on the Lucha After Show, he's easily one of our favorites because it seems like there aren't as many people that like throw themselves into that character head first as
literally and
as Marty
figuratively.
does. Yeah, exactly.
That character is a shoot, by the way.
I am always worried he's going to get hurt. He's the one that always makes me sad. Fingers are always crossed when Marty's out there. But he's great, and he has an unusually high pain threshold, and he's just a fun guy to have around. I mean, not everybody's as fun as Martin Casals, and so we're lucky to have him.
Yeah.
Speaking of not as fun, I feel like we should talk about the sexy elephant in the room. There's been a lot of
Marty's right here.
It's like the second or third time elephants have come up on the show.
Hey. No, the sexy part. I mean, I get it. Thank you, Dale.
You are a sexy elephant. I have said that a few times about you because you remember so well. There's been so much press about sexy.
And look, that was a really unfortunate, bad situation. I know we had some of our guys there, and it was a AAA show, and so ultimately the responsibility of how to handle it, thankfully, doesn't fall on my shoulders. It falls on Dorian's. I can tell you that that Sexy had a 3-season deal with us, and that deal is it's all shot out. Season 3 we had nothing tying her to our show after season 3. Okay. So now, does this change a negotiation with her? Likely it would, but I don't. We don't have a season 4, so I can't even say that yet. Right. So. I initially had a strong reaction to it, and in consulting with the MGM business affairs, the lawyers, they said, Eric, there's nothing to do for you right now. You just have to wait and see what happens. A, we don't have a season 4 pickup, and B, she's not a contracted employee. So, there's nothing for you to say or do. But I will say that, the one thing that, from the beginning in Lucha Underground is, we've never asked anybody to put themselves in any situation where they feel in danger. And I would never ask anybody to work with somebody that they don't feel safe with. And we have, not going to name names, but there's been people who've been let go from our organization because they put other people in danger. And there's just a zero tolerance policy as far as I'm concerned. But it's not a decision that I have to make. It's a decision that Dorian has to make. And from what I understand, I think Dulce might be retiring anyway from the latest that I heard.
Oh, really?
I mean, it could just be internet rumors.
Right.
But obviously the safety of the cast and the safety of the locker room is most important. That's more important than anything.
You said you had a strong reaction to it. I mean, did it surprise you? What was your reaction exactly?
It was negative. It was like, if that's the case, and it's kind of hard to tell from looking at the video.
Right.
It's kind of hard. It looked no different than what she did with
Mariposa
at the end of but that was told, okay, she's going to hang on, she's going to yank it,
right.
And I don't know how much of that was freelance, how much of that was legit heat that was going on between them during the match or before the match, and evidently there's a backstory there that I wasn't there for and that I didn't see, but I'm not in a position where I have to make a call on it yet. But I don't think it's I don't think it's okay.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, it's very interesting, and her statement that she released didn't really clarify too much for me. I was like, I don't know. Okay.
Maybe something was lost in the translation, but it didn't seem.
That's what I was hoping.
Yeah, that's me too.
Because it was very strange.
Yeah, I'm sure she regrets it. She's a nice person. She's always been a good person to work with, and I'm sure that no one regrets it more than Dulce.
It's a good way to put it.
Yep.
So, What about you, Marty? What's your next question?
No, I was gonna.
So like you had something on your lips there.
Yeah, you know, because sexy. It's funny because, and this is a shout out to Brian Metz. You know, her being there. You know, I always just hear her in the hallway going, Brian.
Brian is the nicest guy in all of
Love
television.
Brian. B-Dog.
Brian Metz. Brian and I, Brian, for those who don't know, he's like the unsung hero of the cast of Lucha Underground. He's like one of the talent coordinators. So he does everything from pick them up at the airport to get their stuff, to get them into the set, to do whatever. And he's worked with me from Contender to you know, every other like show I've ever done.
Okay.
Brian has always been a cast coordinator, so he's one of those great guys to have around. And Marty's kindred spirit, evidently. You guys kind of look alike.
Now we do.
Lately, yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Is that hard though I mean, I guess this is on the more negative side, but kind of separating because so many of your players are AAA
Yeah.
wrestlers as well. Has that been kind of difficult to
Sure.
separate them?
Yeah, there's always, you know, boy, we're going inside baseball on this one.
What else are we doing here?
Yeah.
This is why we came.
These guys got
This
me
is
talking.
why we're here. Come on.
Got me
Eric.
talking.
Yeah.
You know, yes, because Dorian and AAA are partners in the show. There are wrestlers that have contracts with AAA, and they have a deal with AAA, and they have a now everybody has a Lucha Underground deal. You know, that's one thing that you know MGM needed to have as a protection. We
sure.
needed to have a separate, you know, promotional television cast deal with everybody that's individual. Now, there are some people that have two deals. They have a deal with Lucha Underground, and then they also have a deal with AAA.
I see.
And then there are some people that just have a deal with Lucha Underground. So there's certain things that people who have a AAA deal can do or can't do that people who only have a Lucha Underground deal can or can't do. So it's like different scenarios for different people. Does that confuse things and make things hard to manage? Hell yes, it does, all the time. It's a complete fucking nightmare, to be honest.
They're playing the same characters a lot of times.
But
too,
it's the nature of it. You know, I mean, I have to respect the business that the Roldan family has built over the years in Mexico. And when Lucha Underground fails or succeeds or dies and never comes back, they still have a business they need to run. And so I have to be respectful of Dorian, and he's a partner, and he's a major part of the LLC of Lucha Underground. And so I would never say or do anything to try and hurt his business. But at the same time, my primary job is to protect MGM's interest and protect Mark Burnett. And so, you know, I have to sometimes, I have to be the one that cares about the show. And when I say the show, I mean the 43 to 45 minutes of television that's on El Rey Network, you know, Wednesday nights. I have to make that the one thing I'm most loyal to. And so sometimes that comes in conflict with Dorian, but he's a reasonable guy and we work it out.
One other confusing thing, speaking of contracts, is the wrestlers that are now popping up on other shows. I mean, we have Johnny Impact now. We have Taya just being Taya, as far as I know. I think even Drago was just Drago. I don't know what that was, a one-off or what.
And I think, you know, look, that was an LLC decision.
Okay.
That's not my decision to make. You know, the LLC that runs the Lucha Underground promotion, they have the rights to, well, Dorian has the rights to any gimmicks that are AAA gimmicks, or you know, sometimes the wrestler keeps those themselves and they own their own IP rights.
That's per wrestler, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. Now, Lucha Underground has you know, owns our IP of the characters that we've created on the TV show, and I don't know that they've necessarily been like, I don't know that you would see Matanza, for instance, on Impact.
Right. Okay.
You know, but you could see Jeff Cobb.
Jeff Cobb, right.
You know, if the LLC gave him the permission to do that. That's not really, you know, that because, and you know, and part of this is, you know, I haven't really, the show, we haven't taped since June of 2016. So I'm working on other projects.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm hoping to get the call to come back and, you know, reopen up the Lucha office and get involved in all this stuff. But, you know, my kids have to eat like everybody else's. And so, you know, I've got to be working on other stuff. And I keep kind of a thumb on the pulse of Lucha Underground. And you know, I get calls about things and, you know, why can't we do this? And I try my best to explain why it is. I don't know that it's I think it's more of an experiment that their LLC is trying, and I think, and you know, I hope that their heart was in the right place, and that there are people that haven't worked in a while on television, and we want to keep them active and we want to keep them visible.
That's what I was kind of hoping. I'm sure they're like you; they've got to feed their families. And,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, and so I hesitate to I hesitate to criticize anything that is allowing guys to make a living, because and if it were up to me, I'd give permission for these guys to work as much and make exceptions wherever we can, because it's not fair to have this big, downtime, where they can't necessarily make television money.
Yeah.
So, I'm all for our cast members working as much as possible. And if that means making exceptions to the contract during this time, as long as it's not like on the same night, on the same time.
Right, yeah.
There's certain things where you have to sort of be the boss and be protective, but look, I don't think they've got the system completely worked out yet, but I'm hoping that the heart is in the right place on this, and that people are trying to allow people to make money where they can.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I know they had been pretty lenient for as long as it was, I guess, maybe local shows, or because even like
non-televised shows, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And even some international like iPay-per-views, we've made a lot of exceptions for.
Yeah, it seemed like New Japan.
Yeah, Puma was working a ton in New Japan. We even moved some tapings around so that he could keep those dates that he had booked. Because
awesome.
He's a great talent, and if the more people see him, the better it is for Lucha Underground. I mean, it's not completely one-sided. I mean, the more if there's a Ricochet against Will Ospreay match that's getting a ton of buzz, well, that's good for Lucha Underground.
Absolutely.
I'm not, so he's not wearing the Puma mask. I think the fans can put it together.
Those tattoos are kind of distinct.
Yes.
The moveset, looks like them.
Like, so I get it. I think that, I think that it doesn't have to be so competitive. I think that a rising tide lifts all boats. Is that what they say?
I think that's
so. So, I'm all for it, to be
Nice.
honest. I mean, maybe I wasn't necessarily a couple years ago, but I think the more I see it, the more I think it's better for everybody to do well in the wrestling business.
Have you had any dream season 4 things that you would like to?
It depends on the order. It depends on the timetable. It depends on the availability. It depends on the number of episodes. I mean, I think that we'll, Chris DeJoseph and Chris Roach, have had a year to creatively sort of think about stuff. And I'm curious to see what they've come up with. I'm sure they'll have some cool stuff, and that we can also capitalize on some of the stuff that has worked in the last 3 seasons. I mean, we don't always get it right. We don't have 20 years of experience to know what's going to work and what's not going to work.
I mean, you can say that about every TV show, though.
Look at any old show that's been on more than 5 years and go back and watch the first season.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, wow, that doesn't look like it anymore. So there's a natural evolution that with all television shows, and I think we're doing that, and we're not 100%. Some stuff we do, we look at 6 months later and say, ooh, that went over like a fart in church. But then there's other stuff where we say, wow, that popped a lot more than we thought it would, and let's do more of that. So, look, that's the fun of it, right? I mean, if we had it all figured out, we'd be the WWE, wouldn't we?
Is that who you'd be? I'm not sure if they've got it all figured out. Let's talk about
I mean that as a compliment.
Absolutely, yeah. But to say that they have it all figured out. Let's talk about you at Lucha Underground, because I love that story.
This guy's a star. Took a bump like the best of them.
It was just I had been hosting the Lucha Underground after show for a little while, and having been involved in wrestling for 17 years myself, a lot of my friends are on the show and involved with the show, and I randomly got a text from Marty one night, and he was asking if I was, or I think what I was doing that weekend. I was like, oh, I'm going to Lucha, like just to watch, just to hang out. He was like, you want to take a bump? You want to get bumped? Like, always, of course.
That's scary on Lucha, by the way, because I've been offered to take a couple of bumps, and I chicken out.
Actually, no. Now that I think about it, it wasn't going to be that. So he just asked, like, oh, do you want to be, kind of involved? Because there was that whole spot with Dragon and Azteca Jr. getting chokeslammed through the bleachers, through the very top bleacher in that section. And so because there was that hole there's a kind of a weak platform covering it to make it look like the rest of the bleachers. So me and a few other guys had to sort of like literally sit on the edge of our seats, like on the very corner of that bench, so that no fans would just wander up and sit and fall through to the floor of the temple.
Yeah, they sat on a 2-inch piece of wood for like 4 hours.
Yeah,
my gosh.
and so then
You get a T-shirt for that or something?
Well, so then eventually we're
Yeah,
in.
they did have T-shirts.
We're
this
in
gets
that
better.
in that holding area, and the girl comes up to us and goes, "So there's been some changes. There's going to be some physicality now." We're like, and we're all workers. So we're like, "All right, what do you need us to do?" Sure. And so that's when the spot came about that Matanza sees Ray up there standing atop the whole thing and is just going to start clobbering people and just throwing people left and right. And so we got to get bumped by Matanza, and we got these awesome Lucha Underground shirts. But one thing that I've talked about on the show is that so we got changed up in the holding area, but then after the show was done, we had to go back and put the shirts back in like wardrobe. So we had to make our way in just pants and nothing else, just topless, from the wardrobe area up to the holding area.
You're in a wrestling
and we
backstage.
walk by,
I mean, there's worse.
and we walk by Dario, who just sees like 4 just normal random guys in their pants, no shirts. They're not part of the show, and he so quietly just looks at us and goes, "What's going on?" Like he's so confused. But yeah, so that was a blast. Yeah. Getting to do that was super fun.
But didn't you have to do it twice?
We did. I wasn't sure if we were. I wasn't sure if we were gonna explore that.
Yeah.
So the first time, the first time around, it was just supposed to be one and done. Just go in, get bumped around, leave. That's fine. It was during the.
It was right before the spot too when it went
Yes,
down.
exactly. So it was Matanza.
10 seconds before the spot.
Matanza versus Dragon Secca in a street fight, and Matanza puts him up against the wall. So those warehouse windows, gnarly warehouse windows,
100-year-old glass.
Exactly, and just loads up one of those punches, straight right hand through the window. And as he brings his arm out, it's instantly just pouring blood, just gushing,
Squirting.
everywhere.
Pulsating it.
And everyone's kind of confused, like, hang on, that may not have been supposed to happen.
Marty was not confused. He threw that X up so damn fast.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, guys, time to go home. Let's close this up.
Because it's like we talked about, you've got this like flesh-eating monster Matanza, and all of a sudden he's like,
He's not a machine.
clutching his hand.
I mean, if people could have heard Jeff Cobb in Matanza screaming.
Well, can you imagine just seeing your own blood just squirting out like a
Right.
Halloween
Well,
effect?
that's what I mean. The same thing happened to Goldberg back in the day in WCW. Punched through a limo window.
I forgot about that.
And yeah, caught a vein or something. And so everyone got ushered out of the temple. And that was the end of the taping. And so everyone was very confused, getting kind of ushered out.
Because there was no resolution to the match.
Exactly. And there are producers telling us like, well, I guess you're coming back in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So
what are you doing in 2 weeks?
Exactly. So they keep our shirts so that we can stay consistent and come back and do it all over again.
Oh my gosh.
But that was definitely something.
And then he had his moment. He got tossed.
Exactly. Yeah, I get to take a right hand from Matanza, and
Made
but
the show.
even cooler was seeing like the kind of all of the different locales in the temple. Like you get this, you kind of create this map in your head as you watch the show of like. There's Matanza's cell, and there's Mil Muertes' kind of altar, and there's Dario's office, and there's the bathroom that we've seen Vinny Massaro in so many times, who's another one of our favorites on the after show.
Of course.
Yeah, the temple has so many locations.
It's so, like, people don't realize that all of those locations are inside the same warehouse. Like, I think a lot of people might think that the in-ring stuff is filmed one place, and then all of the different rooms are filmed, like, on a set or something.
Right.
But that's all part of the same warehouse in
And
Boyle
then
Heights.
Pentagon's dojo is right behind the set, the main
Oh,
arena,
yeah.
and like all these other things. And Cuerno's lair is actually my office, and we milk it. We like if there's an empty corner, we're shooting something in it.
So yeah, I think the highlights of that taping were Matanza almost dying, getting bumped by Matanza, and then also this match between, once again, Vinny Massaro and Cage that was way better than anyone that was expecting it to be. It was awesome.
Vinny can work.
That was really good. It was awesome. Yeah,
Vinny's great.
Not to take anything away from him, but you wouldn't necessarily think that he's a workhorse,
right?
You know, so that match was one of my absolute favorites of the season.
That's awesome. I mean, you guys have so many crazy things that happen in that crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, you must sign some kind of waiver when you come in. I can't recall, but
yeah,
there must be something.
Yeah, you sign a release, image release, of safety release.
I'll never forget.
Remember, and the lawyer gets out in front of the crowd before we ever shoot a thing, and like, what's her spiel is something like, during this taping, you will be exposed to bright lights, noise effects, smoke effects, potentially bodily harm, and bodily fluids. And the crowd just pops.
Everyone started chanting bodily fluids.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, somebody started bringing bodily fluid signs.
Yes. Our lawyer is the most over person of the backstage crew.
So funny.
Yeah.
I think it was the Ultima Lucha, the first one, with the fluorescent light bulb.
Oh yeah, that one was.
And they smashed it and it like flew and it skimmed a girl's head.
That's the end of the fluorescent light tubes in Lucha Underground. That was the beginning and the end right there.
My gosh.
That was the first. Like I don't, I've told this story before, but it's like I don't know. I'm really not very like. I haven't watched tons and tons of wrestling, and that was one of those matches where I didn't know if it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen or the worst thing I'd ever seen, and I had to ask people, was that horrible or was that awesome?
Should I be stoked
Who was
about
in that match?
It was the Vampiro against
Pentagon.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And you had a good story too. I think was it from South by Southwest when Mil Mortes was like, "Move," and some guy.
Oh, that was awesome.
I love it when they don't listen to him. It's the best. Yeah, and
I was in that match.
Yeah, it was crazy. That was a crazy night because that was like.
Remember Aerostar?
Yeah, the whole thing was just batshit crazy. It's the first time we really put on a show outside of the temple.
Yeah.
And so we did not know what to expect. And so we were, we gave a bunch of the seats away to the people who were at South by Southwest because we didn't want an empty house. And
Who probably haven't been to Lucha before.
Then we put a couple hundred up for sale, like $20 a seat, which sold out in like 5 minutes. There was like a line blocks and blocks long. That's awesome. And it was the last event at the whatever it was, the Austin Music Center or something before they bulldozed it, and the crowd just got so crazy. But there were a lot of people who weren't familiar with the show that had just come because it was like, hey, I've been hanging around music people all day long. Let's see something really wacko.
Break it up a little.
And so they thought it was all just shtick. And so I forgot who was the match. It was Phoenix, I think. I think we put
Phoenix and Mil Muertes.
And Mil goes up and he does this. and
Which is scary enough on its own. You think you'd listen.
Everybody in the temple gets their ass up and goes because they know what's happening. Well, some jackass is sitting there with his beer in his hand and his popcorn and this stupid shit-eating grin on his face, and everybody else's moves, and he just stands there and Mil just says, "All right, you're going," and he takes Phoenix and he just body checks him right into the kid, and it just flipped the chair over, beer, popcorn. Everything. It wasn't even a televised show. I mean, it was just for the house there. And to that guy's credit, he thought it was hilarious.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, so we had a good time. I think he was just drunk enough to where it was still funny. I don't know how he felt the next day, but in that moment, he was laughing.
Yeah, because it was funny because Phoenix even told him in Spanish, "Muévete, güey." This guy still didn't move.
So he's like, all right, we've told you twice.
He thought it was all shtick.
Yeah, let's go.
This is all you get. Well, this has been awesome. I mean, thanks so much for coming in here today. It's always good to talk Lucha Underground. I mean, so
I miss it.
There is a light of hope. I mean,
sure.
You wouldn't be here otherwise.
No. Yeah, no. I think that there's. I still think there's a better than even chance that we'll be doing this season 4. I think that people are committed to it, and when you have we've all I've worked in TV for 27 years, and when something is like had its run, and I don't see those signs. I don't see people giving up on it. I think that people are just trying to think of like, well, how can we sustain it? Is there something we can do to rejigger the budgets and the shooting schedules that we can do it for 10 more years? Because I just think it's you know, we're all being realistic about you know, how much we can do, for how much, and how we can monetize it. And they're always looking for ways to do it. But the partners are great. The network is great, and you know, it's just, I think, a money thing right now, and I think we'll get there. I do.
Would you idealistically, I mean, you've been asked this before, but is it something that you would like to see it go and do more South by type situations?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that's really fun. I mean, we did, I think last year we were doing some outdoor festivals. We had it was Cricket sponsored sort of a mini tour.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
So we went out and did some, you know, it was crazy, like outdoor festivals and things like that. But the reaction
We
was
did a tamale
great.
festival.
We did the tamale festival down in Escondido, I think, wasn't it?
As you should.
And then we did like a swap meet in Houston, which we packed them in for that one. That was
crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
And then we did a Phoenix in like 105-degree weather, and then
At the fair.
Yeah, and then, you know, there's a fourth one somewhere, but yeah, I think the best way to become a fan of Lucha Underground is to see it live.
Oh, absolutely.
And the more people that we can get to see it live, I think the better it is. So yeah, we live events are absolutely a priority for the LLC, and you know, it's just about getting the right partners lined up.
Yeah.
And so yes, we would love that.
You think Netflix is a good fit for if things don't go right with El Rey or whatever is being worked on? Is Netflix a place that you think it would prosper?
I mean,
For new episodes?
I think El Rey's going to want the show back, but if for some reason they didn't, I guarantee you that Mark Burnett would try and resell the show somewhere.
Okay.
I know that, I just know it. I know he likes it too much. Gary Barber, who's one of the most powerful guys in all of movies and television, who's the president of MGM, he's been to 2 or 3 of our tapings.
Oh, great.
He loves it. He thinks it's great. PJ Black's his favorite. Maybe it's the South African connection.
Ah, nice.
But you know, I know that my bosses are committed to the show and committed to continue to produce it. Now, if Netflix wanted an original production, an original wrestling, would we talk to them about it? Hell yeah, absolutely. But we would talk to, you know, anyway. But I don't want to say that to sort of, you know, to miss the point that I genuinely believe that El Rey wants the show and is going to keep the show.
So, you know, like, let me ask you, as one of the talent
You're
of
just
Lucha
caught in
Underground,
some problems, Marty.
never. Any predictions for season 4?
Predictions?
Yeah.
Bane. No, you mean when?
When or
When,
any other-
what,
When will there be
why?
an
What,
when
how,
will
what?
there be an announcement?
Yeah.
I would say that we will know within the next month.
So there you go. And the reason I ask is, you know, you and I have had these conversations privately, is that people ask every single day.
I know.
Every single day.
I've stopped answering it because I stopped. I hate lying. I hate looking like a liar. So I've been, you know. So my line is, look, I don't want to tell you something that I don't know is the truth, and I don't know. I don't know when that would happen, but I still believe that it is going to happen. I just don't know when.
We did install a mechanism on the AfterBuzz door to not unlock until the announcement is made. So it's up to you when you want to say.
We'll be here.
Where am I sleeping?
Yeah. What else can we talk about? I know what we could talk about.
Oh, what's that?
Trumpito, El Presidente. You've definitely
Almost got out the door.
No, sir.
Almost.
No, sir.
Can I take a knee?
You son of a bitch.
That's so topical. Yes, you can. You can take a knee. Just, I don't know. I just want to hear your.
It's bizarre. The whole thing is so bizarre. Yeah, I worked closely with him from 2012 to 2015.
What was he like on the show?
About like what you see.
Honestly, that's not surprising, but it's
Yeah.
scary that is.
I mean, this is kind of what I expected when this went down. You know, I mean, when you're creating reality television, you know, there's certain amount of craziness that you kind of like enjoy in a weird sort of way. Like, you know, as a host of a reality TV show, he gave us great stuff.
right. That's
all
what
the
you
time.
want for a host of a reality TV show.
Those same skills, however, do not always translate to the leader of the free world.
What?
I know, shocking, right?
Hmm.
Look, you know, you know, without getting political, I don't think that he's the right choice for our country at this time, and I think that is playing out. And I don't begrudge anybody for their political views. I
Sure.
voted for plenty of Republicans and plenty of Democrats in the many elections that I voted in. I think that his ability to deliver on what he's promised is just not attainable.
Look, let me ask you this. Do you think he's still on set? Does he think he's still on set?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of like, you know, I when you see like the General Kelly and people around him, you know, doing like I've been there, man. I know what that feels like when you've prepped him and he gets in front of a microphone and he just goes
totally the other way,
goes out in the right field, and then but I've always had the luxury of being able to edit. The things that he says.
Maybe we could hire an editor for the president of the United States. That would
I mean,
at least a tweet editor.
I can't say
very least.
you know, I have a non-disclosure that restricts what I really can say about it. But yeah, I mean, you know, this is nothing that I've seen so far has really shocked me. I just know that, you know, he's dude's cut from a different cloth.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Any good backstage stories that you can talk about, or anything funny, like a good anecdote about Trump from the Celebrity Apprentice days?
Oh, God, I'm not sure what I'm allowed to even talk. I have plenty of funny stories. I'll show you some stuff later.
Okay.
I have some funny. I mean, yeah, there's a ton of. Anyone who worked on that show has a ton of funny stories.
Yeah.
But
were you surprised when he was so negative on the new season? Because you were still working.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, I worked with Arnold. No, not at all. Because he did that to Martha when Martha tried to do it too. He doesn't want anybody to do
ego
it as well.
thing?
Purely, you know, he's a pure ego, and unfiltered, pure unfiltered ego, and there's no containing him. And anyone who thinks they're going to control him is kidding themselves.
Yeah.
You know, John Kelly or Ivanka or anybody. You know, no, he is who he is. Not going to change.
Well, Trump and wrestlers, what an interesting career you've
They kind of
had.
have a lot. There's sort of a lot of overlap.
Yeah, they're not unrelated.
I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame over WWE, so
There's kind of, yeah, I think there's some overlap there in pro wrestling and some of his speeches for sure. Sometimes it feels like he's cutting promos.
yeah.
You know,
I mean,
Well, he actually released the footage of him beating up Vince.
Right, from
CNN.
WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
You just go, really, dude?
yeah, with the CNN moniker on his
Yes.
head. Yeah, I recall that.
all right, now you've got me fired.
What,
We're
was saying
doing
CNN?
so good.
I promised my wife I wouldn't get fired today.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I'm sure we can do something here at AfterBuzz for you to do. It's got to be something. What is next for you? Okay, obviously Lucha Underground is a
Yeah,
very...
I'm hoping that comes back. I'm working with the MGM development team on a couple of shows that we're trying to sell. Something that's very close, that's near and dear to my heart, that I'm really hoping we can do it. We've also been working with David McLean from formerly of Glow, currently of Women of Wrestling.
Wow, yeah.
And that's been a fun little adventure. David is awesome. David and Jeannie Buss, the owner of the Lakers, own WOW.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they had the TV show that had been on the air for, during the 2000s. That had done several seasons on the air, and then they were kind of an internet sort of platform show, and they're looking to invest in it, build it up. They partnered with MGM Television, and they want to get a WOW back on the air. And I think the timing of it is kind of couldn't have picked it better with Glow on Netflix and Marty and Marty's other show Glow, the other one, and Wonder Woman and all these kind of things that have female empowerment that every network now wants to get involved with.
For sure.
Well, and Marty, like you said, the Mae Young Classic and kind of this whole renaissance of women's wrestling.
And it's great because the Glow cast is attending WWE pay-per-view today as we speak. So they're all excited about that. But going back to WOW, I worked with them in 2012, 2013 when they were doing their stuff out in Las Vegas, where they were doing stuff for CW out there, and like David McLean is one of a kind, man. One of a kind, dude, and he has his vision, and there you go.
Yeah, and he just he's been fun to get to know. He's got great stories, and being a lifelong Laker fan that I am, it's great to be able to meet and work a little bit with Jeannie Buss. But I'm just more kind of helping him sort of consult on a potential TV show opportunity, and they're taking it out in the marketplace, and hopefully they sell it, and hey, who knows? We'll see. We'll see who. I don't know who will work on it, but we'll see.
I've worked with them before, and I'm available.
Might as well put it out there.
Why not?
Always.
All right, Eric, thanks for joining us today. Awesome. Where can people find you? Are you a social media guy? I've seen you tweet some funny things recently.
I mean, like I graze this. I'm like good for a tweet a month or something like that. But
but they're zingers when you got them. I like that.
Every once in a while. But I try. I'm just I'm not good at all that stuff. I'm really not. I sort of want to stay in the background. But you can follow me. It'll make me feel good if I get over, 2,200 followers or whatever it is. And it's Eric Van Wagenen at Twitter.
With 17 E-Ns.
Yeah, yes. Thank you for bringing me back to the 3rd grade. Yeah, thank you.
Is Twitter the only one, or?
Yeah, I don't really. I have a Facebook, but that's mostly just pictures of my kids doing stuff. So yeah, I'm not gonna. You don't want to follow me there. That's all I got.
That's pretty good.
I turn 50 next year, so I'm a little out of the demo.
Wow. I would not have guessed.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Ty, how about you?
Everyone can find me on pretty much all forms of social media at Ty Matthews PMA. The Lucha Underground After Show airs Thursday nights at 10 o'clock p.m. Pacific live for the rest of this season. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's really the only show I've got going on. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
In the CW, right?
Yeah, we just landed on over 100 new CW stations, so check those local listings, all that fun stuff, wrestling and writing. So trying to get it in there.
I dig it. Marty?
At Marty Elias 1967 on Twitter, at Instagram at Marty Elias 67, and on Facebook, good old Marty Elias.
And I am The Walking Dale on Instagram and Twitter. You can also find me on Wrestling Compadres and Dishing on Movies. So we will see you guys next time, and look out for more Lucha.
Ultima Lucha 3 this Wednesday.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Dale Rutledge, and Stephen Lemieux, managing producer for AfterBuzz Wrestling Mark Donica, and the entire Ringside Pop staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow the show on Twitter at Ringside Pop. This has been a presentation of the AfterBuzz TV Network. Buzz you later!